Kimberly, do me a favor, introduce yourself and tell me what your work is with couples who have divorced.
Okay. So I'm my business is KM Family Law. My background, I am a lawyer, a marriage and family therapist, and a certified financial planner. So I kind of work with divorcing families all out of court, but I work with divorcing families on the legal side, the financial side, and the parenting side. And like I said, out of court, so it is almost exclusively families that are trying to work together. I don't go so far as to say it's always couples that get along or are finding this process easy, but they at least have some insight and know that they want to come up with resolutions together and not leave it to the court to tell them what to do.
Give me your working definition of co-parenting. What is it?
Everybody does it whenever there's two parents involved with or without a divorce. I mean, at its bare minimum, it is two or more people trying to make decisions and parent one or more children together. When you're divorced or separated in two separate homes, you have two added things, which are really interesting to me. One is you're just in two separate spaces. So usually there's, two different home bases, two different drivers, two or more, sometimes when you have like step parents or other family. But the other piece you have is you actually can have a court order binding you to do something. When you're not divorced, if you and your spouse or you and your co-parent can't decide on whether your kids should do, club soccer or just do it at the community center, you just have to figure it out between you and kind of figure it out until you're ready to go. When you're divorced, or if you have a parenting plan in place, you can actually go to a court and fight about it in front of a judge and get an order that says yes to club soccer or no. So it's a really funky, weird place because who wants to do that? But at a bare minimum, it's two or more people making decisions and trying to come together on how ideally to best raise the children. But when it comes to extracurriculars or sports or music or theater, whatever they're doing outside of school time, it can be really challenging.
Youth athletics, with all the growing demands, can present a lot more problems, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're twofold, time and money. I mean, like everything else. But as the time commitment becomes more and more and more on these kids, and it's not just, 3 or 4 practices a week, it's tournaments out of town, it's the hotel costs, the food costs, the driving costs. Sometimes you're putting your kid off with another family or someone else is taking them on. I've had a minivan full of, 6 kids going to Des Moines for a soccer tournament. And then sometimes there's the unknown time. You don't know if you're going to be there for 1 game or 4 games. And when you're crossing over on parenting time, there's that element too of, is it my time or my co-parent's time? Do I like this sport? And do I want to be as equally involved and on the sidelines as the other parent? And then financially, so often there's such a huge financial contribution that goes in. I mean, I ask families when I start working with them, do you have a hockey player, a club sport player, or a dancer? Those are the 3 that you have to almost have a separate budget for to figure out how are we going to pay for it? What happens with the unknown costs? It only gets more as they get older usually. And then you get the tough situation of what happens if one parent can't afford it or financial circumstances change and the other can. How do you balance that out with also trying to have a unified front for your kids and make sure that you're not, you're one of the things just important in general is supporting your co-parent.
What about the social aspect of this? And, as a soccer mom, right, there are groups on the sidelines. There are groups that hang out together on away tournaments. That can, I'm sure, be a big deal with 2 camps and 1 athlete.
I think it's really upon parents to communicate to other parents that like we may be divorced or we may be separated, but we're here as a team and we're going to be unified. So like knock it off. Don't treat us any differently. And kind of keep them out of it as much as you can. Again, it might be really hard. I'm not undermining the fact that it might be really hard for parents to pretend that it's okay. But do that for the short period of time. And
can you give me kind of a laundry list or a checklist of things that couples do that help them succeed.
During the divorce, you got to come up with a plan for the time. How are we going to communicate and decide what they're doing, and the money to take that out of it, so that no kid feels like they are worried because hockey goes up at some point in time. When you're in bantam, you're paying more money than you were the year before, and you need to plan for that and prepare and think about it ahead of time. So that's like the prep that's in the divorce documents or in the decree, that you guys have come up with a plan for that. And then during the process, it is about, I think I put it on my blog, avoiding promises. Make sure you're talking to each other and you're not saying, oh yeah, you can definitely go to that tournament, or you can do ODP, or you can fly to Vegas for the college showcase, before you talk to your co-parent, because the answer could be no. And when you're not together and in the same household, you're often having those conversations together. And all of a sudden, when you're separated, you're driving home alone with your kid, and you might inadvertently promise something that then you have to back out of. So I think avoiding promises, I think getting along and just doing your absolute best to be positive and good on the sidelines. And then I think, really trying to make sure that the community as a whole, you're communicating to them about what is happening.
It may seem obvious, but why is it important to put a ton of thought and a ton of effort into being a good co-parent of a young athlete?
As a divorced parent, don't be that parent. Like, teach your kid that you can divorce well, you can be friends or friendly enough to support them on the sidelines of a sporting event. And then just keep loving them and keep doing the best that you can for them. And then also just make sure you're doing it for all the right reasons for them. It would be my same advice for non-divorced parents. It's just a little harder, really hard.